Township Board of Trustees for Tuesday, February 11th. Everybody will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before us, we have our agenda as presented. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections by fellow board members or department heads? Seeing none, the agenda will stand as presented. Sheriff's report, we have nothing noted. Is there anybody in the crowd that wishes to go on record to address the Sheriff's Office? Mr. Brenneman, could you just state your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Robert Brenneman. I live at 4133 Plain Center, Northeast, Canton, Ohio, 44714. Most of you know me from years past being here, complaining about the noise from Raptors Bar and Grill and LA Golf Course. I don't know if you all have seen the family approach the board. This was recently in the Canton Repository. Raptors is no longer in business. They're being leased. They leased the property to a new outfit. It's going to be called EB's Pub and Party Center. And you can, I don't know if any of you have read this, but this fella Eric Brooks says he plans to have live music Wednesday through Saturday. Generally featuring local classic and rock bands. Acoustic jams are planned for Wednesday, with a jam band set for Thursday, Friday, special events Saturdays. The police were at my home Saturday, filed a complaint, and I believe they were aware of this fellow Eric Brook. I think he's aware of why are they doing this. I don't know. It starts again.
As a point of discussion, because I know Lou, you brought this up just prior to the meeting, given that this new entity is taking that over, leasing this space, we haven't had nothing come before this board regarding the liquor license and so forth. Given it's a change in business as they're promoting here, should that not have come before us, or is there anything we can
Something new parking before the horse here. He's kind of right.
Because typically,
Typically,
if you think about, not Nathan's, but what was the one across the street, the old,
Ogres and Calibers.
yeah, Ogres and Calibers, anytime they change names, even if it was the same shareholder or shareholders, that stuff was coming before us just to have the sheriff's office either review it, contest it, have it investigated, anything like that. I mean, I think...
Yeah, this is at least a change of the operator. I mean, certainly I would have thought if they would have transferred the business, which it sounds like, of course this is according to paper report, but if they transferred the business, it certainly should have come to the fiscal office.
It may be filed with the state, and it just hasn't come to us yet. There hasn't been anything to my office.
Of course, my concern is, some of you have been at my home, so I guess I will be calling and counting these individuals here to give me a hand.
Does it, I'm sorry, our detective here, does it hurt to be ahead of the game right now and go up to them and say, look, this is already, you're a new owner, this has already been in front of us. Last year we've had problems with this establishment. We're here to warn you that we have neighbors. They're going to be making phone calls. I mean, they were going to call out this weekend. Once, but we're getting ready for a summer, and already, if he's already calling now, we're going to have a problem summer.
I would imagine that if there was a noise complaint and we came out and talked to you, I'm going to say that somebody talked to the establishment that night.
Yeah, the deputy said he was going to go over. I can't remember his name.
And tell them, but I don't think we would be opposed to going over there and saying, hey, just so you know, if we get any calls, I don't think we have a problem with that.
Because there's, I mean, our noise ordinance has to do with distance. And there's
150 feet detected, not
there's a fee structure for that, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a civil fine.
But essentially, it's a cap to where they may thumb their nose and say, well, it's cheaper to pay whatever.
Well, the downside of that though is disorderly conduct. I mean, they can always go back, if they go out, and I've talked to the detective about this specifically, if they go out and they ticket somebody, that's typically after a warning, and then they disregard the warning, they ticket them, and then if they disregard the ticket, they're gonna get cited with disorderly conduct.
Which almost happened last time.
Yeah, so,
That's true.
it's not like they could just decide, well, I'm gonna pay the fine, and I'll just play my music because I make $10,000 a night, I'll pay the $100 fine. It doesn't work that way.
Well, that's what I want to avoid, because obviously, based upon his past experience, it's either
Sure.
been the warning, potentially a pending fine, or he gets a proposed warm and fuzzy letter saying, hey, let's, be friends and the whole world's in harmony, and it's not the case. So I realize it's different.
I think, like what we did with Ogres, and just pull all the calls and see how many times we've actually been there over the past year. And I think we can sit down and go, hey, look, I got a page and a half of when
He's
you've
gonna
been out there.
escalate this, I mean, he's gonna have a lot more music.
Then we would cite them just like anybody else. I mean, we've had other establishments in the county, primarily Canton Township. We had one where every Friday or Saturday we went out and cited them. I mean, we hit them with the disorderly. It was nonstop. So every weekend, and after about the fifth one, things kind of calmed down. But we can definitely handle it that way. I mean, I can come and talk to them if you want.
Yeah, I say, okay.
Okay, that'd be my preference to go out.
Forewarning that neighborhood doesn't tolerate it.
No, I mean, here it's winter time, and, I heard it, everything's closed up, it was snowing that night, I still heard it inside the house. And come summertime,
Oh, it's gonna be worse.
no, so I'm not gonna put up with it, so, okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bob. Is there anyone else to address the sheriff? That'll close out the sheriff's report. I'm going to turn it over to Detective Connie for the detective's report.
For January 2014, our stats were as follows for the month. We had 714 calls for service, 84 crash reports, 15 crash reports were with injury. They went down slightly from December, but they stayed just as high. Alarms were up slightly at 126, 75 traffic stops, 68 citations, and we almost doubled our arrests for January at 49 with 28 bookings and 21 summons. I think that's the highest number we've had for since we started keeping track of this. Usually it's around 20 to 30. That was fairly high for January.
Those bays are open.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the booking, like I said, the summons were high. It was the summons. The bookings were slightly higher, maybe by about 5 or so. But again, we had 21 summonses, and all those summonses is just summons. It can be juvenile, it can be, adult. So I know in the beginning of January, that first weekend or day or two, it was a little busy. So that's for January.
Thanks, Detective. That'll take us to unfinished business. I'm going to turn it over to our interim administrator, Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is a quote we received from the architectural firm, James Douglas Evans, on the refurbishing of an office area up here. There's 2 phases. This is for the first phase, and the resolution will read that way. The board is happy with that.
So move.
Second, discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes. And do you want to
Item number 2.
I think
Mr.
we'll-
Geovasis has to be put on.
Yeah, I asked for this to be put on, and I asked them to prepare an alternative agreement in the event that the city of North Canton did not approve their portion of the four-way jet agreement between us, Jackson, and Canton. It's my understanding last night the city of North Canton did pass the first reading by 6-1 vote. It's my understanding, the conversation I believe I had with the reporter was at the North Canton meeting that it will be till April if it passes. So I'm going to turn it over basically to the other two board members to see how they feel, because there's still no guarantee that this is going to pass.
I actually had conversations with three different council members over there today, one being their council president, and they noted that next week they would have some type of special hearing to appease one of the councilmen who objected to it. Outside of that, they all indicated to me, each of them, that they would pass on the 24th via emergency resolution, the final reading. So they did say, specifically council president, one of the council members, that it would effectively be March 1st, or that first week that it would take effect, but they had indicated they still believe even after the public hearing, they'll continue to have six votes. It'll be passed as emergency legislation, and it'll be done. So my opinion is, and as I told each of them, I would come back here. I want the deal done no different than we've noted the last two weeks. I did raise concern over the fact that there was a need for another public hearing, given we've had multiple discussions. We had the public hearing that was advertised for Jackson. Given delays right now just because of the weather and not much happening in construction, I would be willing to give them until the 24th, assuming it's passed as emergency legislation to where it takes effect essentially the 1st of March. However, I haven't advised anything outside of that. I know that's a little bit of a leniency from what I've previously noted, but the fact that they were able to get it 6-1, that is veto proof by the mayor. And talking with their council president, he said even if a vote changed and it was passed on a 5-2, given the first reading was 6, even on a second one, if it was a 5-2 vote, it would continue to be veto proof. And essentially the mayor's got two options: not sign it and just allow it to become law, or sign off on it. So I understand it was quite the spirited and contentious conversation, but
I did have a conversation today with Jackson. They're under the opinion, they're already under a media agreement already with Canton, so they don't need to pass another one because they entered into one 4 years ago. This is a new one that would include North Canton. They already have one in place with Canton right now, so they're at no rush either way. I know the city of Canton would have their brothers, they would rather see it between the three parties. Sure. I think it's in the best of the entire area. That's been my opinion all along. We have all four entities part of this agreement, even though I'm not happy with the additional delays. John Schneider, the president of the council, Marcia Kiesling, and those that worked pretty hard with council to garner the votes that they've gotten so far. So,
well, I think to point out something about the timeline, if you were to decide tonight that you were cutting North Canton out and wanted to do a three-way deal with Jackson and Canton, we have, pursuant to the statute, a new agreement, and that comes with it we gotta re-advertise, we gotta pick a date with those two entities to have a new public hearing. So it's not, I think that the timeline issue is a little less severe if, and this is a big if North Canton does ultimately do that at the 24th.
Now, we
You're
have
way
to
ahead of
go
the
through the whole
game.
hearing process again, we just
Yes.
can't amend the original one?
It's because it's more than an amendment, you're excluding a party.
Okay.
So
And the
it's,
split changes from third to
and the
half.
split changes from third to half, yeah. So it would require a new,
Let me ask you this, if we initiated that process tonight, and this didn't happen with the city of North Canton, by waiting and starting the process after we found out at the end of their process, would it speed it up?
well, I think what we can do is, the agreement itself isn't, that's just North Canton's out of it. So, and the split's different. So the agreement itself, if you wanted to, I could certainly talk to Mike Thompson for Jackson and Jason Reese for Canton and say, in the event that they don't pass this on the 24th, we should be prepared on the 25th to not only agree in principle essentially to the new agreement, but have a date picked. And that would short circuit that, by probably, a couple of weeks at least. So you could certainly authorize me to do that,
I think that's it.
just to have it in your back pocket.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I think it reinforces the points we've made prior as well.
And see if we can't get something scheduled the week of the 24th, that week, to meet tentatively if it's not passed by then.
Okay.
How was this holding up that construction with that hotel? We were concerned about the water. We had to get moving on it.
Well, part of the agreement was, the way this all started was Canton and North Canton clashing over the sewer and water. And North Canton came into the agreement from Scott's discussions with them and bringing them to the table, and there was an agreement that Canton said, yes, we'll let you sell the water to the hotel, but we're going to include the entire area. And we're going to equally share in what happens out there. Now, if this doesn't go through, that could cause some obstacles about who's going to supply the water and sanitary sewer to that hotel that's under construction.
Certain. And aren't we supposed to be getting some type of income tax now from the
Well, we can't
construction?
even begin to negotiate a jet until the agreement's in place.
And I'm saying, if the agreement's in place, we would be collecting from the construction, correct? So right now, we're being, it's crazy. We're in third meeting, 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks. I mean,
that's the.
for me, it's embarrassing because I'm a man of my word and I'm ready to move, but it's like, we've given them 2 more weeks, and now we're gonna, we're gonna give you again until March. Meantime, these things are starting to get held up.
I think where we're at, but to Eric's accords, even if we exclude them, we're gonna have that lead time. So what we do is in parallel is, one, okay, hey, you, have till the 24th to give it your emergency legislation passing. They're done, and I think per their rules, it takes effect in 10 days. 10 days, I believe it is.
I don't know,
I think that's what John had said to me.
Okay.
Per the rules. So you've got that, but as well to reinforce that what we said last meeting, we wanted the decision by this one. Well, we've got the draft agreement, and the law directors are gonna establish a date to do the public hearing, because process says we have to do that given the revised terms, which essentially is, there's one party out and the split goes from sharing thirds of the revenue source to halves. And, otherwise materially, it does not change. So, I think it does show that we're still serious about that. It's not that we're saying, no, we're not gonna do anything with that other redlined agreement that we've asked to have
Let
put
me just say a
together.
couple of things. If we truly believe that the best interest of the entire area being served is bringing all 4 entities into it, we have to take all this into consideration. I think the disconcerting, or the concerning portion of all this that bothers me the most is that these discussions started back in May. They continued through the summer. They continued through the fall. We held a public hearing. All of them were present at that hearing in the audience, including the president council that was up at the front counter along with the law director. Nobody spoke of any of these concerns at that time, at that hearing. We brought the agreement back to our own bodies, all, you know, us, Kent, and Jackson immediately approved it, ratified it. Here we are going now in the middle of February, and North Canton wants to hold another hearing, which I believe most of the public input at that public hearing in Jackson were from North Canton residents.
Yeah.
And they want to hold another public hearing and delay, now is right, they want to delay it another 2 weeks. But, I mean, we're at this point, if we really truly feel that the best interest of the area is all four entities, is to afford them the 2 weeks. I'm not happy with it. I mean, I'm backing up way back on what I originally said, but I did tell John Schneider that if they voted, you know, I did some soul searching last night, I have to live to my word. They voted 6-1 in the affirmative. Hopefully, in another week, they'll pass it by emergency measure. But if they don't by then, we're ready to go.
Yeah, we will be.
So they have
We've
that-
got the agreement, you know, drafted, and it's just a matter of having a date to fill in the blanks with and pass a resolution.
You know, and I've watched what some of the city council meetings said, you know, on videotape, you know. I think they're aware of what's at stake here outside of the one car dealership that seems to be the
Already
holdup.
lost opportunity.
Yeah, that seems to be the holdup.
Yeah.
And council members are very much aware of what they've lost in the past because of the previous positions they've taken with these agreements before. And I don't think they want to see that opportunity and that door close again on it.
And the reality is they do not have a direct connection to any of that. And the one area where I heard there's a tract of a piece of property the owner doesn't want to annex in. They're trying to say, well, maybe, hey, long term, we could go after bird in hand beats two in the bush.
Well,
so to say.
they seem to think that the other thing, Eric, is that the hopes of someday the legislature allowing municipalities to jump municipal boundaries and basically turn areas into checkerboards and be able to jump like chess pieces, you know, over lines and create islands of cities inside cities.
There's a reason that hasn't happened in the hundreds of years of annexations.
I think I made
And
a
you
comment
can speak to that.
before. I mean, we'd all like to go to the moon someday too, but
Yeah.
the likelihood of that happening.
No, that's a disaster for services and all that.
To wrap it up, I mean, are we in agreement that?
I think I would have, first of all, what I want to do is I want to bring this motion to the table, have it seconded, and then we can possibly table it going forward through the 25th.
I'll second it. Any further discussion?
He's gonna be working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll work with Jackson and Kent.
And then just, we'll table this until the 24th, and then we'll allow the law director to set up a meeting with Canton and Jackson.
What's the time for another 2 or 3? No, that's not 2 weeks. 2 more weeks.
They're doing their little public hearing next week on
What's our
the
next meeting?
18th. Ours is the
25th.
25th.
The 24th is the day before our next meeting, 2 weeks from now.
So 25th, we can pass it, just bring it back to the table and pass it.
Sure.
So the motion was to bring it to the table, and second, and we're going to table it until the meeting of the 25th. No.
That'll close out unfinished business. That'll take us to new business, and we'll keep with Mr. Iacino.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, item number 1 is a letter from the Stark County Health Department, as the advisory council members will be having a meeting on Thursday, March 6th. They were requesting at least one representative from each entity be there.
Do we have anybody that will be sending to that, or?
They're asking for a trustee.
This is the Health Department, isn't it?
I will be in a warm state of Florida.
What day is it?
The 6th
It's on the
is a
6th.
Thursday.
6th,
Thursday the 6th,
7 p.m.
over there on
Convenience Circle.
Convenience Circle.
You go with him? You go with Trent?
I'll be there.
You You gone for sure?
Yeah, right.
Mr. Administrator, you should put that in your calendar to
Call this.
shock him, make sure he goes there, give him a jolt.
I tell you what, I can nominate you to go.
I'm just making sure that you'll be there.
See if I can get you out of your basement.
I used to go to those, when I was at the sheriff's department, I used to go to those all the time. I was,
We've got that.
Item number 2 is false alarms. We only have one this evening.
I'll also move.
second,
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
yes?
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
And Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Item number 3 is just an update. I was up at the time in the park, and they started the installation of the telephone poles. I do believe the weather's probably slowing them down, but they do have 2 in place, and the other ones are ready to go. So, moving ahead.
Nice job on it, Joe.
Thank you.
That's gonna enhance that overall facility for especially even events in the evening hours, safety, security.
You drive by there at night and people are using those recycle bins, all you can see is the tail lights. And
Yeah, there's one, they already put the ones right by the recycling bin, so that's going to be a separate.
You don't know what people are doing back there, you don't know what they're dumping, you don't know what they're up to.
This way Bill can see what's going on a little better.
Sit on the porch and watch them.
Come on and drive by in the rocking chair. All right.
Item number 4 is a resolution to authorize the purchase of 2 2014 Dodge Chargers from Grief Chrysler. And the purchase price,
I'll make a motion just to move on new business for
Second.
now discussion.
okay, we had discussion today through emails that whether to get a V8 or a V6. After talking with Bob over at the Sheriff's Department, their head mechanic, he suggested we get the V6s. After running that through our mechanics in our garage, they also agreed that there's plenty of power in those cars. From the last ones we bought, we have 2 of them. We do have one V8, but when that was bought, it was under the understanding they didn't have any else available at that time. And I don't really see the need to go with the V8 because we don't have long stretches of road that we would actually need the V6. And
We have the sheriff's office. Speak to
George
it.
would like to comment on that, I would.
Good evening, gentlemen. Most of you know me, but I'm Captain Tim George. I'm the Executive Officer of the Sheriff's Office. Do you want me to speak directly regarding the engines?
Start there, yes.
Okay. Basically, it's completely up to you, gentlemen, but the way we look at it is we purchased all V6s. There's more than enough power for us in our vehicles. And again, as was stated by Joe, that you don't really need the V8s in this type of situation, this type of an area. The V6s have provided us more than enough power for our vehicles. They've worked out very, very well over the last couple of years. And the new vehicles we actually purchased for the Sheriff's Office all have V6s. So in that regard, again, you know, that they serve our purpose very, very well. So.
Captain George, just one question. I know from our previous discussions, we've looked at uniformity, consistency in our cars. Is there any reason that this board should take into consideration any other police car packages that are out there?
Should we get a couple SUVs? I mean,
Well, the one great thing about the SUVs versus the sedans, and I'm a strong proponent of the SUVs only because of the fact that, you know, you do have a lot more room inside the vehicles. As you know, when you look inside our patrol cars, you know, when you get the basic police package, they look completely empty. Once we start putting in the computer systems and the camera systems and everything else, there's very little room. And also, the deputy sheriffs in our county are issued a phenomenal amount of equipment that they have to carry inside the vehicles. So it is, they do hold up much longer. We get a lot more mileage and a lot more performance out of the SUVs than we do the sedans. They do have a somewhat higher ground clearance. Obviously, in Plain Township, that's not necessarily a a major issue. But we have found, and we've read studies, seen studies, statistical data that shows that a lot of those vehicles hold up much better and much longer. And that's obviously something, for the dollar amount, that's something we like to look at. The safety value obviously is a lot better too. There's a lot of data out there that I didn't bring with me tonight, of course, but that most agencies, a lot of agencies are going to those vehicles because of the fact that you really don't see that much of a price difference between the sedans and some of those smaller SUVs like what we purchased, the Explorers. So we're getting a lot more room, we're getting a lot more potential years out of these vehicles down the road than we would of the sedans.
From just high level, and I don't expect you to rattle off prices, but I mean, approximately how much difference in cost is there, say, from a sedan versus the SUV, just rough that?
A rough estimate, you're talking anywhere, depending on which make and model, anywhere from $3,000 to $4,000.
And from a longevity standpoint, I mean, are we talking a year, 2 years?
Possibly even longer than that, 3 to 4 years
For
possibly.
that difference in money?
Sure, absolutely.
What are the options just from a, I know this seems last, but what are the options in the SUVs? Because honestly, the only thing I have seen is the Ford Explorers. I wouldn't even be aware of what else I've seen.
The Chevys, right. We picked the Fords because of the fact that they had a lot more. We have some very tall deputies, some bigger deputies, just like any other agency does. We didn't go with the Chevys because of the lack of headroom. Again, when you get into the basic police package and you're just purchasing the vehicle, there's absolutely nothing in it. And we found that with the SUVs, the Chevys, there wasn't the headroom for the officers. And of course, you have your camera systems mounted in the roof and everything else. And we found also that the inside of the Chevys, there was an indent on the side, on the driver's side, to where these officers would have to actually swing their heads out to be able to get out of the vehicle. But Ford, they had plenty of clearance.
Dodge, me?
Yeah, Dodge. And we tried the Chevy and the Dodge both. We looked at both.
Ford fits better?
Ford's fit better.
Key question, how are they on a pursuit?
It's like anything else. Even to some of the sedans, especially the newer ones, they do have pursuit packages. But for our purposes, for our pursuit policies, and for our purposes, I believe the SUVs are fine. They've got more than enough power. And we do have a pursuit policy, and it just, that determines whether or not the pursuits are continued and how things are progressed. But we're firm believers in it. Obviously, we purchased ours for the special reason or specific reason that we have so many rural areas that we have to go to and a lot of dirt roads and things that we need to go to. And that's the reason why we wanted to go with those vehicles. That, again, plus the additional room. The performance value, from what we've read, is pretty much the same as a sedan.
Any major difference, fuel economy?
No, not really, no. Actually, except obviously the model and then of course the engine size. But between the V6 sedans and the V6 SUVs, there really isn't that much of a difference.
The latest expectancy of a car.
The only thing that you definitely need to consider, obviously, is if you decide to go with well, regardless of which engine size you decide you want to go with, you do need to discuss certain things, later on, as far as what you need in the actual police vehicle itself, the additional accessories that go in that.
And for the sake of the public record, I mean, can you just touch upon our fleet? Our understanding is we've got some vehicles that are
Correct.
Really extremely bad shape.
Right,
Not just
absolutely.
high mileage, but
We got cars with bumpers with zip ties.
Exactly. Right now, you've got several vehicles in the
Zip
fleet.
tie on.
Several of them are over 120,000 miles.
miles to boot.
Basically, we've got one that's 148,000 miles, 139,000 miles, 133,000 miles. You've got one that's 153,000 miles. Many of those vehicles are well over the 100,000 mile mark. what we were looking at doing is, if you purchase the vehicles, the new vehicles, there are two that are pretty much dead mine. They're basically not safe to drive. There's a lot of electrical problems with those two vehicles that they would be replacing. The vehicles have, the one vehicle that we're thinking about replacing then for you folks would be, in fact, because it's got even some frame damage to it. And again, both vehicles that we're looking at replacing have wiring issues. Basically, for all intents and purposes, the vehicles are, they would cost so much more than the values left in the vehicle, and they're unsafe.
Okay.
So,
That's a good question.
I personally would like to have us take a look at the, secure the SUV pricing.
Okay.
And based upon the recommendation, probably of the, I mean, that Ford Explorer outlook, because of the homework the sheriff's office has already done in their acquisition, for their fleet for the rest of the county. I think we need to recreate the wheel there.
I don't know if you're aware what they look like. The
They're not four-wheel
chief
drive,
has a
are they?
picture of
No,
it
sir.
right here.
Does that, how do these
Are they
operate
four-wheel
without
drive?
four-wheel drive?
no, they are all-wheel drive.
They're all-wheel drive.
They're all-wheel drive? Oh, well.
So far, the reports that we've had since we've had them in service in a short period of time, we've had, obviously some heavy snowfall since then. I've spoken to a lot of the officers we assigned them to, and they've had absolutely no complaints whatsoever.
And that's with this snow, they're able to
Right,
snow.
right.
And how far out in the future do you think the next two should be replaced?
Well, in my personal opinion, the vehicle should be replaced as soon as possible.
No, I'm talking not these first two coming up.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about the next two, because we've got some other real high mileage ones that are getting iffy. I think what maybe we can do is sit down with Joe and come up with a,
Strategy as far as
Strategy.
long-term.
whether it's 2 every 6 months or, so
Absolutely.
we can get some of those dangerous ones off the streets.
Right. We do keep 5 of your vehicles in reserve simply because of the fact they're breaking down so often now that we just need to have replacement vehicles out there. They're not frontline vehicles, but they are kept in reserve in case the vehicles, the normal vehicles, frontline vehicles break down.
If we can replace these bad ones and take a couple of
Absolutely.
decent ones and put those in
Sure.
reserve.
Absolutely.
Well, let's, for next meeting, we'll table this resolution.
Well, Joe, also we need to set up a time where you can sit down with them so we can come up with a game plan about the replacement of the other $130,000, $140,000. Maybe Anthony, president at that, since he's,
How many of these are under roof?
I think everything.
All of them.
All of them?
Yeah, we don't park anything out
Nice,
outside.
nice. I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, that might be a no-brainer.
Here's a question too, because we were at that neighborhood crime meeting for Vernon Hills last week.
Right.
Any possibility of converting a couple of these into decoy cars? Like Ian does?
Like undercover, so one day.
No, decoy cars. Each ward in Canton has a decoy car where they'll park in neighborhoods or certain people's
Oh, you're
driveways.
talking about the,
Some of the older ones that are,
Sure. And there's always that possibility to do that, sure.
Mr. Brennan might want to sit by his house.
Park one in Bradford Park.
It's no different from the speed trailer though, right?
Well, I can have executive conduct specifically to drive one of those around. We'd be more than happy to, I'm sure.
no, but
Absolutely.
at that meeting, Canton said they seem to be having pretty good success with those, just moving them around from place to place.
Many cities across the state and across the country do that.
Because it gives additional presence.
Absolutely, yeah, especially around high traffic areas for speeding, things like that. Sure.
Well, we'll table this until our next meeting, and our goal is next meeting, we'll have resolution to take final action based upon the information so we can work on getting those taken care of.
Thank you. You're very welcome.
Thank you, Captain.
You're very welcome.
Take it out.
That'll close out the new business. It's going to take us to the fiscal officer's report. Mr. Flex, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. President. First item on the agenda is for a request for a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees to authorize the payment of the pending warrants in the amount of $446,431.81 is attached.
Also moved. Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 2 is a request for a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize payroll of regular payroll in an amount not to exceed $220,000.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 3 is a request for a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize payment for the following medical claims provided by All Care and Express Scripts.
So moved.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
And Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Fiscal Officer number 4 is the financial report. Fiscal Officer number 5 would be a request for a resolution by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to authorize the following transfers.
Also move for you to pay.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
And Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
That concludes the Fiscal Officer's report for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Flex. That's going to take us to our administrator section. Back to Mr. Iacino.
Item number 1 is a resolution to enter into agreement with, for technical assistance between Plain Township and the Stark County Soil and Water Conservation District.
Second. Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Geovasis, move on.
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution to enter an agreement between ME Companies and Plain Township for the 2014 Stormwater Management Program Annual Report.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
This
This
is the
has to
same
be
price
EP.
for the last, we have to do this every year.
Yeah, this is an EPA
EPA
unfunded mandate.
And it's been the same price for the last 3 years.
Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
And Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Item number 3 is a resolution to authorize Chief Don Snyder to attend the 2014 BWC Ohio Safety Congress and Expo Conference in Columbus.
We've got a motion by Lou. I'll second. Discussion. Roll call. Or Joe, did you have?
I just wanted to note, this is something Ross Coleman usually went to, and he can't make it this year. This is for our workman's comp, and the chief volunteered to go in this place.
Because this actually equates to credit on our workers' comp rates and so forth. Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
And Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Item number 5 is a resolution to pay the Stark County Regional Planning Commission 2014 dues.
3,000. It's administrator number 4. Also move on to administrator number 4.
I'm sorry.
Discussion.
Who's the second?
I did.
Roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
And Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Item number 5, I don't see it on here, is our drug-free workplace employee training was moved to April from October. Rob, can you help me out there for the reasoning? They changed the rules?
The Bureau of Workers' Comp changed the calendar year for the discount program, so it moved everything up a little bit where we usually had it in the fall, but we have to have it completed by April 30th now. So.
So is this just updating the prior?
Yeah, this is
Dates
something,
in there.
we got the dates all finalized for it. And item number 6 is a resolution entering an agreement with OSA Technologies for the annual technical support contract, as well as server upgrades not to exceed $13,600.92.
I'll move on to administrator number 6.
Second.
Discussion. Rob, can you help clarify? I know I'll need some clarification, as well as I'm sure I'd like a little further detail on just technical support. What all does that typically incorporate?
This is the service contract that we pay to OSA. It's been the same for the last 3 years. Although this one also includes those server upgrades that the storage upgrades we had talked about, which ended up only being, I think, $659 of that price. But that pays for all of the support, that the server monitoring and the basically all the IT stuff that we farm out.
So anything that comes up with like a disaster recovery, if something goes down and you have issues being able to retrieve or restore stuff.
Yeah, we had when the one of our servers failed last year, we had it back up within 4 hours because of their resources. Yeah, we've talked before about the necessity of it. We do have the option of going to a pay-as-we-need-it plan, but with what the hourly rate is for after hours, I mean, we're fixing things 24 hours a day with the fire department and things like that. And
with our fund,
it's much cheaper to pay for the service contract than what we would end up typically paying in a year at an hourly rate.
Okay,
So.
thanks, you. Are you good? Yes, thanks. Roll call, please.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis? Mr. Haas?
Yes. Thanks, Joe. It's going to take us to our fire department. I'm going to turn that over to Chief Snyder.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item number 1 is the monthly report.
How have you guys been handling the calls with all this nice extreme cold?
With the fire last night from Mount Pleasant,
Barn?
$200,000 in damage. The storage barn, they had tractors and bathrooms and cars and so forth.
Any idea of what's caused it yet?
No, it's still
Bad wiring or?
Yeah, he was out there working on some things, we're trying to narrow it down.
Wow. Okay. Any other? Thank you, Chief.
Item number 2 is to authorize attendance and payment for people to attend the Fire Department Instructor Conference in Indianapolis, April 8th and 12th.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion. Chief, this is something we do every year, right?
Yes.
Where you identify.
Yeah, we've had, we send different people out here to attend that. And last year we had started with people that have done a lot above the job. We've advertised to identify those people and narrow down.
Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
So thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Now we're going to go to our public service director. That's also Mr. Hyacinth, so I'll turn that right back over to you.
Item number 1 is the monthly report for the road department services. Of course, you know what we've been doing all month.
It's really been a winter from,
Been sitting down here with your feet on the desk, haven't you?
We're going to have to talk about, the last 2 winters have been pretty good. I don't know what happened this winter. I think there's a little jinxing going on.
I was going to say, I think there's 2 other trustees who brought up snow. I created a drought, if I recall, 2 years ago.
Yes.
Big thanks to the guys, I mean, for the work. I know in your communications with us, hey, when they're out, when they're coming back in, just so we get them a little recovery time, you know,
Really hard, yes.
we get streets looking clear, and all of a sudden, we get the demoralizing storm where it makes it look like nothing's going on, and I can tell you,
On top of 4 inches of snow, and it's been a bad one.
I've only received, you know, calls, hey, guys, yeah, you took, really no complaints.
If you want to hear complaints, just come down and answer the phone for a couple hours.
Well, what's been difficult about this winter is it's just, like you said, it's a constant snow, and our drivers are just out there for such a long length of time, and they still gotta sleep, they still gotta come back out. I mean, it's been really just, it's not one of those where they just came out 6 hours and it's done, it just keeps coming back. You guys send them home to rest, neighbors get a little upset because they're not out there, but they have to sleep, bring them back out. It's been really difficult this
They've
year.
really been doing a good
Yeah.
job.
But
They've sticking together as a
They're
team.
sticking together and they're making things happen.
Equipment's holding on.
We'll talk about that later.
It's getting tired.
I know that. So that'll close out the monthly report.
Item number 2 is the monthly report for the Parks Department.
That's great.
They've been plowing their share of snow too this past winter so far. Done some painting. We're gonna get Rob out there one of these days.
I told you, call me, man.
Please alert the rest of us, yeah, do it in the mornings when nobody else is.
Wait till after I'm at
Except for
work.
them plowing, they don't hear from them.
I'd like to request trustee Hawes' neighborhood, please.
Stay out of my driveway.
I know where I'll put the snow.
You won't be in a park strip.
That's fine.
All right.
Item number 3 is a speed zone study from Stark County engineers on Butler Street between Warner Church and 0.4 miles east. It was discovered when they were working on the Warner Church bridge replacement and movement of the road that there was no speed limit there, so it made it 55 mile an hour in that section. So they did a study and they're trying to get it down to 45 miles per hour at least. We'll need signatures by the board to go ahead and follow through with this.
Motion on that one, right? Is there a resolution? No.
Yeah, there is a resolution, it's the county's resolution.
Okay.
All right, so moved, and here's a 3.
Eric Buck, read it up.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Item number 4 is another speed zone study that we requested the county do for us on Schneider Street between State Route 43 and Middle Branch. With all the schools and school zones and the crossings for the railroad and crossings for the park trail. We're asking that this speed be reduced to 40 mile per hour after the study was done.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Hawes?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
One more. Item number 5, after what we talked at the last meeting about the purchasing of salt, I've been in contact and I was told Mr. Haas has been in contact with the county engineers. But they're not doing the cooperative purchasing next year. So I talked to Dave Torrance today, and he's sending this letter out to all the entities about if we still want to do it. He's taking a survey. He wants some input from all the trustees, boards, and cities locally before they make a decision on what they're going to do, either go with ODOT or stay with their own cooperative purchasing. Whatever the board wishes, I think I made it known. I think we got better service from Cargill than what the ODOT people are getting from the other, but we don't know what next year brings. We don't know what prices next year brings.
Well, I know even in my conversations with Dave, just at the YMCA, yeah, that initial letter was to come out to give all of us enough time to push back and say, no, we really need this, because I know your counterpart up in Lake reached out to me, and he's still looking at the county conversation, said, hey, we need to discuss this, even creating a township consortium to go in and buy, and I had advised Dave of that, and he goes, the townships want to do this, we'll be willing to put it together. And one thing in discussion I mentioned to him is there any way they, through the county engineer's office, can maybe pull any of the details out of how the state bids it, see if they can incorporate that into their process to even drive that cost down.
We do have something that shows how to bid through the state, so we can look at that.
Yeah, good for him for putting this out. I like the way it's read. Right off the bat, it shows that they've been having problems with those. We all know what that problem is. That there's cities and townships without salt. God forbid if we had another one next year, and we have no salt, then we know exactly what we're going through. So I think that's something that was really well put together, and I hope everybody reads it. And if I had a vote right now, I know what it would be.
Joe, would you respond on behalf of the board to the survey? I mean, I'm in favor of us bidding it through there. Yeah, we can't afford to go through another program where we're getting whatever secondhand is left over. I mean, a price is only as good as what the material is available, and
Right.
you can say, well, I've saved this all day long. If you can't get it, it's not a savings.
We know there's a shortage of it. From all the drivers we talked to, they're sitting in line a long time to get loaded. But we have continually got the salt in at a slower pace than normal. We do have salt. I will fill this out and get with the county. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casino. That'll close out the public service department. I'll turn it over to our zoning planning development director, Mr. Falk.
Mr. Gentleman, item number 1 before you this evening is the monthly report for January. Questions?
Just one question real quick. Just looking down here, like the skills games, is that already for 14 or is that number a carryover?
So that is what we have in place currently for the year 2014.
Okay.
We're down a couple of places have closed up. Last year we started out here at 14, we started out here at 13. We do have one person who's looking into some areas for that are possible.
Okay.
And throughout the year, a couple of businesses last year did change ownership, so that created additional revenues.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you on that.
Okay. Item number 2 before you is a resolution approving attendance at the Stark County Regional Planning Commission annual dinner, which will be on March 19th. And the speaker will be the director of Stark. We'll be talking about the natural gas utilization of the bus and his fueling station.
Also move on zoning number 2.
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes.
Thank you. And number 3 is a grant request by the City of Canton to purchase the Cumulus Broadcasting property on Martindale Avenue, or Martindale Road Northeast. And Mr. Dan Meglin, the city engineer from Canton, is here to explain what that's all about. And I don't know if you need me to be on the light or not.
I have these, I also have a handful of small versions. I'm not sure there's enough there. Again, I'm Dan Meglin, Kansas City engineer. Thank you for the opportunity to come speak with you tonight. As you can see on the board here, this is the property, the old Rock 107 property off of Middle Branch, adjacent to Barge School, right across from Martindale Park, Camp Park. and we're looking at purchasing this property. As part of that purchase, we have applied for a grant. It's an NREC grant. It's a Clean Ohio Green Space grant. Those are administered through the Ohio Public Works Department, through the Ohio Public Works Commission, and then locally decided on here by the District 19 Integrating Committee. We've applied for these grants for many locations throughout the city. One was out adjacent to the fairgrounds. Actually, two were out adjacent to the fairgrounds. Two others were our Fairhope Nature Preserve on the east side of town, which portion of that was Plain Township as well. We're in that area of Plain Township. In filling out the grant application, I got to the bitter end and completed it, and everything was going along properly with all my documentation. And in my final check, I found that because this property is not located within Canton City, there's a requirement in the revised code that I have to come to you folks, who are the governing authority over that property, and request a resolution of support for the grant application. So that's what I'm here to do tonight. So thank you for entertaining that. To give you a little background on what we're trying to do, just so you think there's no mysterious, funny business going on. The idea of this, and you kind of alluded to it when Mr. Iacino was discussing the stormwater requirements and so forth that you do on an annual basis. Much like you guys, Canton's in the same boat. We have to look at ways of improving our stormwater runoff, reducing our footprint and impervious surfaces, as well as protecting areas that still are natural. So we've been looking not only within the city, but on areas adjacent to the city where we can go in and through purchase, through easements, what have you, basically gain control of properties to ensure that they're not going to be developed at some point in the future, and that development would in turn add more drainage downstream, which all comes into the city. This area, I don't have the floodplain boundaries on here, but essentially everything here all the way out to the building, and I believe even a corner of the building is within the 100-year floodplain. So this area, our intent and our goal here is to purchase this property and essentially leave it as green space, and thereby protecting and preserving and securing the floodplain and the downstream runoff. We do have flooding problems downstream, so the more we can do to protect upstream, the better off we are. So that's the primary impetus behind this. The second piece of the puzzle is creating a connection that would be part of our proposed Camp City bike plan and trail. Of course, you guys have benefited just as we have from Stark Parks and their partnerships they've been building. This is within Canton City, the plan that we've been developing for our major corridors throughout town. What we've been seeing is, and I'm sure you folks have seen it as well, as this section, the Middle Branch Trails, opened up, which was a great partnership between all of us here. We've seen a lot of people crossing those railroad tracks, mid-block, so to speak, particularly adjacent to Bar School. You can see there's a path worn. It's just off the north side of this map here, but people are coming from the school, crossing over to the trail and so forth. Obviously, it's not a good situation when people are doing that. So one of our recommendations and one of our solutions for solving that problem is twofold. One is on 55th Street, our project that is under construction, or will be under construction as soon as it thaws out a little bit, is to create a wide sidewalk on the south side within the city limits. So on the south side of the road, there'll be a 10-foot sidewalk, which will allow bicyclists, walkers, folks pushing their baby carriages, handicapped, what have you, that will be able to ride along through the neighborhoods, access the trail from this northern end. So that'll provide access here. On the south end, down in Martindale, to provide access to our school and the neighborhoods over in this area, our goal is to run underneath the railroad bridge. There's a railroad bridge right here where the Middle Branch comes underneath. The goal would be to connect into the trail, and this actually was an old four-wheeler trail and was still use, but I think we're getting that under control a little bit with enforcement. Basically run down along the railroad tracks, underneath the railroad bridge, come back up and tie into Bar School through the back door, allowing access for those neighborhoods. It's twofold, the benefit of this thing. Not only do we provide access, safety improvements and so forth for these neighborhoods, for the schools, in addition, we have the sanitary sewer line that runs this entire distance down through here and then crosses under the railroad tracks right at that bend. We currently have, in cooperation with Bar School, these access drives down here. We have drives down into those manholes so we can access, do maintenance and so forth. This will allow this trail to overlap those drives and kind of kill two birds with one stone, in that we have better access to maintain our sewers, which serve both ourselves as well as you folks, as well as recreational and safety improvements. So that's improve water quality and control runoff for the future, provide access for recreational as well as maintenance services. And one of the questions you may have is, what are we going to do with the building? Because I know there's been some issues out there in the past, maintenance and so forth. The honest answer is, we're not sure. We've gone through the building, we've met with some of the folks from Cumulus, gone through the building. Does have some deterioration, there's some root problems, some black mold, some damage that was done by vandals and so forth. One of the things it could go two ways. One is that we take control of the property and we'll tear down the towers, the satellite dishes in the building and wipe the slate clean. That's one option, and that's a pretty likely option. Second option is, in addition to the bike and pedestrian trail, we're actually, through our parks, looking at creating a water trail, which would be a kayak type thing, where we look at the Middle Branch, doing periodic kayak runs down the Middle Branch, as well as potentially the West Branch. Myself, our Parks Director, last fall, we hopped in on a series and some kayaks right here at Martindale and went down, and you'd be amazed. It was beautiful. There were a few log jams we had to get up and pick around, but it would create a recreational opportunity, another outlet for positive recreation and eco-commerce and so forth for our area. The water levels get pretty low during certain periods of time, so that would be kind of an intermittent thing. If we do that route, then we'd be looking at, one of the options is to use all or a portion of that building for storage of kayaks for a livery type of scenario. So it may be just the garage itself, the detached garage that is just connected by a corner. Keep that, store the kayaks in there and so forth. So those are some of the options. We're not sure one way or another, but we're excited about the opportunity. So with that, I'm certainly happy to talk about any other questions and go from there. The school's contiguous, Bar School. You can see the property in purple is the corp limits. So Bar's in the city, Martindale's in the city.
Is the city's intention to leave this in the township, or are they going to purchase it and annex it into the city?
To be honest, I'm not in charge of annexation, but I really don't care. It doesn't matter to me whether it's personally in the township or in the city, because we can accomplish all those goals that I listed, regardless of where the legislative authority has. Much like Martindale Park, I think that was not in the city limits for decades. So from my perspective, there's no urgency to annex it. The only thing I would say is, if there's impact on the safety forces, just to clarify who has jurisdiction over it, that might be a consideration. So, but to my knowledge, there's no imminent, we're not going to buy this thing and annex it.
Let's start touching that for good.
And that's why I
Well,
was raising the question.
it touches now, right now, with Bar Elementary, probably, school.
But if this,
Essentially,
if that
gets
became
bought,
city,
that's a business strap. There's some businesses in there. Danny,
so now they touch those businesses, then they go, and it's just one thing there.
outside of this plan, is there anything you've had as far as discussion with the city Canton to determine what future plans may be for the annexation. I understand the water quality and the drainage, because obviously the flooding issues that Canton deals with, I know Joe does with, that we apply for different grants on a recurring basis, successfully or unsuccessfully. That's, you know, a huge factor. The parks is a nice quality of life, but I also know from, you know, what business we do have in the township.
There's been no discussion from any of the businesses in that area. No one's ever expressed any displeasure with our services or anything as far as
variance or something.
anything like that. There are basically storage units, businesses there right now.
It's all places to store.
Yeah, and then
Everything is, pretty much is everything connected. There's a couple of insurance places there, dentist offices, I think on to the east of that property. A couple things in that area. I know we've had discussion with a couple of different people who've looked at the property to purchase it and they just walked away from it.
Yeah, well, rightfully so.
Yeah, just sitting there, our crews mowed the grass there.
Let me ask our board members, but since we've had this cooperation out in the city of Canton, and honestly, I'm sitting here gun shy because of annexation, why don't we sit down with the city of Canton and then work, and see if we work something out where we're both involved with it, before it could get taken away from us?
And Eric, just from a legal perspective, I mean, given these are existing businesses, it's nothing that's new. I mean, would this essentially be a non-annexation agreement that we're asking for if they acquire? I don't know what we can do cooperatively to bring anything new.
I understand.
Well, yeah, put something in the resolution.
Well, that only binds us,
Right.
so
Yeah.
there's another entity involved. Yeah, you're right, Scott, it's kind of like there's no mechanism here that we probably, that we probably want to use.
I mean, because we've seen in other areas where
Yeah.
you pick something up here or there. And I mean, I realize it's not huge,
Right.
but that's what limited business base we have. I've said from day one, preserve, protect, and grow it. I mean, most of those are businesses, as far as I know, they have longevity here, the dentist and the insurance and so
The
forth.
one thing you could do is you could approach them about an annexation agreement if and when type agreement. If entities in there desire annexation and approach the city, and they go in, then this is how revenues and services are going to be divided. You could put that in an agreement.
And that'd be standalone, and we do.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, because Dan, what you're looking for is a letter of support or endorsement by this board.
For the grant purpose, right?
I mean, it's two individual.
You haven't purchased the property yet? When do you need to have this resolution of support?
Well, it turns out at the time the grant applications were turned in, we were supposed to have it
Just a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
So I think there's a little bit of window for following up on some documentation. I guess one thing I would throw out there is if and when there was a desire to annex this particular parcel, would that be the time to really discuss what, whether it be a seed agreement or what restrictions or?
No, and the only reason I say no so quickly is because at that point, you've already got an entity that wants to annex and a city ready to take it. We don't have any leverage at that
We
point.
have no leverage there. I commend you for what you need to do here, but I'll be honest, I'm really gun shy about, because we have a cooperative agreement with Cambridge. We just remember about 5 months ago, we lost Taco Bell. I mean, so, you know, it happens. And they do it. They still have what they want to do, and we still try to fight them.
We should approach them on a jet agreement or some type of agreement over there.
All right.
I'd be happy to call them tomorrow if you want.
Yeah.
But your efforts, I applaud. I mean, I see exactly where you're going.
Sure. At the end of the day, our actions are not going to prohibit them or stop them from purchasing this tract. So thus, from a grant
Well, unless they're waiting for the grant to go through to purchase it, which I assume you probably are.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, and I believe honestly the revised code requires, since it's outside the court limits,
Which I think that we should enter, to approach the city with some type of an agreement going forward in return for our
Or
endorsement.
signing off on it. I'd be happy to make the call.
Yeah, but I can't really give
It's either me calling Jason or one of you calling Sam, that's the way I see it.
Well, Jason,
Let me call Jason.
Well, I can tell you Sam and Jason don't know anything about this.
Oh, okay.
So.
I should educate them?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. I
sure.
know the service director is aware of it. I'm not sure who he's gotten involved with.
Okay.
Certainly the park folks know.
Okay, Jason's easy enough, I'll just
Like I
explain
say,
it to
this
them.
was
yeah, but we start with
an
Jason.
effort to mysteriously.
Sure.
And we can pass this on the 25th.
Yeah, if we could get something in principle with them,
Like I
sure.
said, that's all for the good. I see what you're doing.
Okay, I'll do that tomorrow.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thanks.
No, I mean, with respect to the drainage and the runoff, get it, it makes sense, obviously enhancing the quality of life in parks, that's nice.
Sure.
I just know the overriding factors, preserving and protecting what we've got. I want to make sure we can address that as well. So,
Timeline, if you don't mind me pursuing it a little bit farther, you'll talk to Jason. Certainly, there wouldn't be any kind of formal agreement
Right.
if that's the route you decide to take for some period of time.
Yeah, I mean, I think
as far as from
they're open to talking in terms of a deal in principle, I'm sure we're open to that, and we could move quickly once we have that kind of accord, you know, once it's hey, yeah, we're not worried about that area, let's do an annexation agreement, and we start putting pen to paper, we'd be willing to probably go forward with the blessing on the grant money, I would think. So,
which we don't need, which we will, I mean, if we can get that just through discussions, we don't have to wait, we don't have to wait till next meeting just to provide a letter of.
well, he's looking for an actual resolution.
I would read a revised
Yeah,
got it.
proposal to resolution.
Which we can do on the 25th, as long as we got some type of mutual understanding.
That's correct.
And I think that would be sufficiently
Okay,
clear.
and I'll let you know, I mean, if they tell me to bounce out, I'll let you know that too.
Okay. Have a good evening, Joe.
Thank you.
Any that closes?
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen.
All right, that'll take us to Parks Programming, Mr. Steinberg.
Item number one, gentlemen, is the monthly report. We have done very well for session 2. We're up just under 12,500 in gross revenue from session 1 to session 2. So moving forward. $12,450 in gross. Please note gross. Lots of new programs and stuff, so, and lots of increase in the programming that we do have, so we're happy with that so far.
There's been nothing more since our meeting, correct, with CSC.
Nope, we're finalizing the contract now to get out to them and move forward.
Thanks.
Number 2 is just a mention of our next community event, which will be the Easter egg hunt. We're having it on Saturday, April 12th, 2014, from 1 to 3:30. I'm in the process of soliciting partnerships and donations for the event to offset some of those costs. We expect a couple thousand children, and as I alluded to last year, there was a certain trustee that was our resident Peter Cottontail.
I think that should be an annual obligation of the acting sitting president of the board.
Program director would be.
Program director's running the event, Joe, you can be in the costume.
This actually, that'll look like a star Easter bunny.
There's already a show called Finding Bigfoot, Joe. They don't need to see me in a costume.
Last year I stretched that uniform out pretty good. So
And what time would that be at?
1 to 3:30 p.m. The Easter egg hunt will start sharply at 1:30.
So, you say 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock to 3:30, yes, sir.
I would like to make a motion that the president of the board be the Easter bunny.
Make a motion to table that?
I think Mr. Ricino's been doing it at home.
I would approve Mr. Ricino in a bunny costume any day of the week.
You're actually, in all seriousness, you have anybody you follow with on that?
As far as the bunny costume?
Not that I'm offering it.
We're securing the costume, but it was my sincere hope, since the trustees got involved last year, they would get involved again to help grow support for the event.
Your turn. Hey, you never sit in the middle, you never sit in the middle, it should be you.
Our president?
Yeah, because it's gonna be between you and me. Yeah, it's gonna be me and Scott every year. That's not fair.
I'm not in the position to pick or choose.
The member of the board.
He never wants to be your president, so. I think it should be the member of the board, not the president or vice president.
Apparently I've opened up a can of worms.
You've got plenty of time, Roger. So that's going to close Parks program.
The only way I'm doing it is you can get one that fits this year.
So it's Scott. He's the
I can send you all for a costume fitting, we can work that out.
Scott's the thin one. If you get the same costume next year, he'll be fine. This year, you'll be fine.
Communications, turn it back over to our public service director / interim administrator.
Gentlemen, that concludes Parks program.
Item number 1 is a thank you from the Community Christmas Coat Drive. Because of the commitment to helping Stark County residents, we were able to collect and distribute over 4,100 coats to fellow Stark County neighbors. You allowing us to place boxes in your facilities this year enabled us to distribute coats to more Stark County school kids than last year, plus the agency's missions and crisis centers of previous years. The need for the coats was great, and you and your staff and your members and customers have greatly helped fill those needs. God bless, and may you have a good and prosperous year. John Lindbergh, co-chairman. Item number 2 is a thank you that we received from the road department. My name is Rick Richardson. I live at 2420 Beechmore, northwest of the township. I just wanted you to know what a great job your crew has done on the township's roads, keeping the streets as clear as possible during a very difficult winter period. It can't be easy to try to make everyone happy during this very bad winter. Good luck the rest of the winter and keep up the good work. And item number 3 is from the Canton Charge. They're having a Guns and Hoses night on March 8th. I guess it's in the afternoon at 1 p.m. It's recognizing our local heroes, Stark County Firefighter of the Year, Deputy of the Year, Canton Police Department, Community Officer, Traffic Officer. Portions of the proceeds will be offered to the benefit Active Children's Bird Center.
That wraps up communications. It brings us to the portion of the meeting, public speaks. If there's anybody in the crowd that wishes to address the board, I need you to state your name and your address to the fiscal officer for the record. Anybody that wishes to address the board?
Thank you. James Zwick, 5928 Mapledale Street, Northwest, Canton. It's actually Jackson Township. I was here before, so you probably recognize me. I just wanted to come tonight to give you an update on where we've gone so far with the progress of trying to start a new Lions Club. The weather hasn't been the most cooperative. I canceled the first meeting because I just thought it was too bad to have anyone come out. And we did have a meeting on February 3rd here. We had some people interested in getting a Lions Club started. Actually, we were fortunate. We had a gentleman that had been in the Lions, dropped out, moved into Plain Township about a year ago. He's been president of the club a couple times, and he's very interested in getting back into the Lions. Another person showed up who's willing to post information for us and seemed very interested. So we have another meeting scheduled for next Wednesday, the 19th. I'll try a Wednesday night instead of a Monday night, and I'll start a little later at 7 o'clock, which might give more people a little more opportunity to come. I'd like for you to help me spread the word around. If you can't come, ask somebody if they would come. But I think if you could just come and witness what we have to offer. We have about a 20-minute power presentation, which kind of gives you a thumbnail sketch of all the different things the Lions have done, and we're almost 100 years old, so we've done a lot of things in those years. And I want to keep the momentum going, and I didn't want to wait till the newsletter came out in mid-March, because now you're looking to almost April. And once you get some people interested, you want to keep them and try to get them to go. We need 20 people to start a club, so I think I've got a couple. I have a couple more interested that I've talked to since then, business people. So I'm spreading the word. I'd appreciate it if you'd spread the word, and if you'd come, I'd love to see you. We'll be out here by 8 o'clock or 8:30, so thank you. Do you have any questions?
Front page of the website, Rob?
Yeah, I think it's been in.
We had the last meeting,
on the
if
website.
I'm-
The next meeting that's coming
Don't-
up.
Yeah, I asked the girls who posted, and
Out to the website, social media.
yeah, we're under events. Yeah,
We can
I
refresh-
talked to
we can
Joyce,
refresh
she was,
that.
so. If you have any questions, see me afterwards, I'll be glad to talk to you.
Thank you, Mr. Zwig.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else that wishes to address the board? Okay, that's going to conclude public speaks. Concerns of trustees? Closes concerns of trustees, concerns of the fiscal officer. Okay. That takes us to the approval of the meeting minutes, and I'm going to move on, number 1, work session, January 20th, 2014. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes. And I will move on number 2, the regular meeting, January 28th, 2014.
I second it.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis?
Yes.
Mr. Haas?
Yes, there is a need for executive session, so be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Trustees, Stark County, Ohio, to adjourn to executive session at 7:28 p.m. from this regular meeting is authorized under Ohio Revised Code 121.22G for the purpose and consideration of 1A, appointment of a public employer official, 1B, employment of a public employer official, 1D, discipline of a public employer official, and 1F, compensation of a public employer official. Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Lino?
Yes.
Mr. Geovasis? Yes. Mr. Haas?
Yes.